The night my mother slid the new will across the dining table and said, "You understand, don't you? Everything goes to Dylan." I just smiled, the USB drive burning against my palm. They had no idea I'd already seen the secret accounts, the house titled in a temporary trust, and heard the recording they'd both signed. If they chose to abandon me, to erase my name from this family with a notary's stamp, then I'd make sure the whole town watched exactly what they'd done to secure their perfect inheritance. The blue ink stain on Mom's finger told me everything someone had rushed her to sign. My name is Ava Morgan, and I'm watching my family erase me in real time. The mahogany table reflects the chandelier's light, same as it has for 32 years of family dinners. But tonight, the gleam catches on legal documents instead of Mom's good china. Dad's construction rough hands smooth the papers unnecessarily. Mom's fingers that blue ink stain still fresh on her index finger tap a nervous rhythm against her wine glass. "We've given this a lot of thought," Dad says, not meeting my eyes. Howard Morgan, who taught me to look people straight when speaking truth, now studies the wood grain like it holds answers. Dylan leans back in his chair, that practiced casualness he perfected in high school. My older brother, twice bankrupt before 35, owner of nothing but charm and IOUs, grins like he's already won something. The business, the house, the retirement accounts, the life insurance, it's all going to Dylan. Mom's voice carries that false brightness she uses at church fundraisers. Evelyn Morgan, who once divided Halloween candy down to the last Tootsie Roll to ensure fairness, now slides inequality across the table wrapped in legal language. I set down my fork. The salmon tastes like sawdust anyway. All of it. "You'll get grandmother's painting, the one you always admired." Mom rushes this out, like throwing a bone to a dog. "It has sentimental value." Sentimental value? I almost laugh. I work at Lumen Ridge Capital, analyzing risk for a living. I know exactly what that painting's worth, maybe $800 on a good day at estate sale. "You're successful, independent," Dylan adds, examining his fingernails. "You don't need help." Don't need help. Last month, I covered his car payment to keep it from repo. 3 months before that, his electric bill. But sure, I don't need help. The USB drive in my pocket feels heavier than it should. 3 gigabytes of evidence I started collecting 2 weeks ago, when Mom let slip about finalizing things. Bank transfers, trust documents, that recording from their Ring doorbell when Dylan brought them home at 11:45 p.m. from the lawyer's appointment. When was this decided? I keep my voice level, professional, the same tone I use when interrogating balance sheets that don't add up. "After Mom's accident," Dylan answers too quickly, "we realized we needed to get affairs in order." Mom's accident. A fender bender in the Safeway parking lot that left her with whiplash and a prescription for Percocet. Suddenly, 2 weeks later, 30 years of building Morgan Construction hardware means nothing with my name attached. "And you both agreed to this." I look at Mom. She glances at Dylan first, then nods. That micro moment tells me everything. The hesitation, the permission-seeking, the fog in her eyes that wasn't there at Christmas. Dad pushes back from the table. "It's done, Ava. Notarized and filed." Notarized and filed. Like that makes betrayal legitimate. Like a stranger's stamp transforms abandonment into estate planning. I stand slowly, fold my napkin proper to the end. "Well, congratulations, Dylan, you've won everything." He doesn't catch the emphasis on "won," doesn't hear the promise underneath. "Don't be dramatic," Mom says, reaching for my hand. I step back, and her fingers close on air. "I'm not being dramatic. I'm being accurate." I gather my purse, phone, keys. Normal movements while my mind catalogs Delaware Statutory Trust established 8 months ago. Series B. Power of attorney dated 3 days after Mom's accident. Wire transfers every Tuesday. Small enough to avoid reporting requirements. "Ava, please. Family supports family." Dad's voice cracks slightly. I pause at the dining room door. Turn back. They look like a normal family. Suburban, successful, stable. The kind that posts matching Christmas sweaters on Facebook and votes for school bonds. Family supports family, I repeat. Just not all family members equally. The drive home takes 12 minutes. I know because I count them, letting the rage settle into something colder, more useful. At every red light, I review what I know, what I can prove, what I suspect. By the time I pull into my townhouse garage, I've made my decision. They want to cut me out cleanly, surgically, like removing my name changes nothing fundamental about who we were supposed to be. But I know something they don't. In risk management, we have a saying, the most dangerous liability is the one you don't see coming, and I'm going to be their most expensive oversight. The pattern started when I was 7. Dylan broke the neighbor's window with his baseball. I was in the backyard, reading under the oak tree. But somehow, I became the one who should have been watching him. My allowance paid for the glass while Dylan got a new mitt because boys need proper equipment. Flash forward. I'm 16, working at Dad's hardware store every day after school. Dylan shows up twice a week, usually late, often hungover. But when the regional supplier comes to visit, guess who Dad introduces as the future of Morgan Construction Hardware? Not the daughter who reorganized the inventory system. Not the one who caught the bookkeeper's $3,000 error. The son who couldn't tell a Phillips head from a flathead if his trust fund depended on it. Which, ironically, it now does. I pull up my laptop, financial documents spreading across my screen like evidence at a crime scene. This is what I do at Lumen Ridge follow money trails, find the gaps where numbers don't match stories. Only now, I'm auditing my own family. 8 months ago, Willow Family Revocable Trust, Schedule B established. Signatory Evelyn Morgan. Witness Dylan Morgan. 6 months ago, first transfer, $9,900, just under the $10,000 reporting requirement. 4 months ago, second transfer, same amount, then monthly, then bi-weekly, always from the joint account, always just under the limit, always on Tuesday mornings when Dad's at supplier meetings. But here's what makes my stomach turn. The trust beneficiary isn't Dylan directly. It's Dylan Morgan as temporary trustee for the benefit of Evelyn Morgan. Temporary trustee. The words taste bitter, because I know what comes next in this playbook once you're managing someone's assets for their benefit. It's a short step to managing them into your benefit. My phone buzzes. Mom. Sweetie, you left so suddenly. Are you okay? I stare at the text. 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Dylan says you're being emotional about the will. This isn't about loving you less. Emotional. There's that word they've weaponized since I was 12 and cried when they gave my college fund to bail Dylan out of his first failed venture. Ava's too emotional. Dylan's entrepreneurial. I don't respond. Instead, I pull up the county recorder's website. Public records are beautiful things, they don't lie. Don't make excuses. Don't call you emotional. Power of attorney. Dated 3 days after Mom's accident. Granting Dylan full authority over Evelyn Morgan's financial and healthcare decisions in case of temporary or permanent incapacity. The witness signature makes me pause. Brad Kellerman, Dylan's poker buddy. The same Brad who lost his notary license 3 years ago but apparently still has the stamp. I screenshot everything. The next morning, I'm at work by 6:30 a.m., running risk assessments on 3 commercial portfolios. But my mind keeps circling back to one detail. Mom's signature on the POA looks different, shakier. The E in Evelyn drops lower than usual, the way it does when she's tired or medicated, I say aloud. What's that? Jake pokes his head into my office. Nothing. Hey, hypothetically, if someone signs legal documents while on prescription painkillers, depends on the dosage, the timing, the person's tolerance. Jake, former pharmacy tech turned analyst, perches on my desk edge. Why, research. He laughs. Shh, your research face looks like your someone's committing fraud face. If only he knew. I pull Mom's pharmacy records, thank God for shared insurance accounts and digital portals. Percocet, filled the day after her accident. Dosage higher than typical for minor whiplash. Prescribing doctor. Not her primary care physician, but someone from MedQuick Urgent Care. Dylan's girlfriend works at MedQuick. The pieces snap together like a horrific puzzle. Create the need for estate planning through an accident. Get Mom medicated enough to be compliant but not obviously impaired. Rush through documents with a friendly witness. Frame it all as taking care of family. Then the final insult telling me at dinner, like I'm supposed to swallow this theft with my salmon and thank them for the privilege of being excluded. I dial Victor Hale's law office. We've worked together on corporate cases, and he owes me for catching a discrepancy that saved his client millions. Victor, I need a consultation. Family matter. How bad? I look at my screen. At the transfer scheduled for next Tuesday. Another $9,900 of my parents' retirement sliding into Dylan's control. Remember the Pembroke fraud case? Think that, but with DNA evidence that we're related. His low whistle says everything. Can you come by tomorrow at 4? I'll be there. After I hang up, I sit back, letting the full weight of it settle. This isn't about money, not really. It's about being deemed worthless by the people who were supposed to value me most. It's about Dylan learning he can take and take and take, and they'll call it love. But mostly, it's about Mom's shaking signature and that blue ink on her finger, evidence of being rushed through something she didn't fully understand. They chose their heir. Now I choose my war. The county courthouse sits 3 blocks from Dad's hardware store, a proximity that feels like mockery as I walk through its doors at 8:15 a.m. The clerk at the records office knows me. I've pulled documents here for Lumen Ridge before. Back again, Ava. What are we hunting today? Property records, power of attorney filings, trust documents. I slide the formal request across the counter. Her eyebrows rise slightly at the names. Morgan. She knows that name, knows the store, probably bought paint there last summer, but she processes the request without comment. Professional courtesy. 20 minutes later, I'm staring at documents that make my blood run cold. The power of attorney isn't just broad, it's staggering. Dylan can sell property, liquidate accounts, change beneficiaries, even make medical decisions. The language includes a concerning phrase, "This POA shall remain in effect regardless of the principal's subsequent incapacity or disability." Irrevocable without court intervention. But it's the second document that stops me cold. A deed transfer, dated yesterday, the day after our family dinner. The hardware store property, transferred from Howard and Evelyn Morgan to Willow Family Revocable Trust, Schedule B. They moved fast, too fast. I photograph everything, then drive to First National where my parents have banked for 30 years. The branch manager, Teresa, used to give me lollipops when Dad brought me along for deposits. Ava, how's the family? That's actually why I'm here. I pull out my Lumen Ridge business card. I'm concerned about potential elder financial abuse. My mother recently signed a POA after an accident, while on medication. Teresa's face shifts from friendly to professional. We take these concerns seriously. What specific activity has you worried? Regular transfers just under reporting limits. Property transfers immediately after POA execution. The witness to the POA lost his notary license 3 years ago. She types rapidly. I can't discuss account specifics, but if you're planning legal action, you should do it quickly. The way she says it tells me everything. There's already movement on the accounts she can't discuss. My next stop is MedQuick Urgent Care. Dylan's girlfriend, Brittany, isn't working, but the receptionist recognizes Mom's name. Oh yes, the accident patient. Dr. Kellerman treated her. Kellerman. He's semi-retired, only works Tuesdays. Brad Kellerman's father, the witness's father, the prescribing physician. The net they've woven is tighter than I imagined. Victor Hale's office occupies the top floor of a restored Victorian downtown. He listens to my evidence presentation without interrupting, occasionally jotting notes. When I finish, he leans back, The POA is vulnerable. Witness with revoked notary credentials. Prescribing physician with clear conflict of interest. Suspicious timing. But proving undue influence or incapacity at signing, that's harder. What about the property transfer? It happened yesterday, without mom or dad's direct signature. Just Dylan using the POA. That's our leverage point. Colorado law requires clear principal consent for major asset transfers, even with POA, if your mother wasn't fully informed or was still under medication influence. She was refilling her prescription yesterday. I have the pharmacy record. Victor's eyes sharpen. Dylan knew she'd be medicated when he pushed the transfer through. He drove her to the pharmacy. 2:30 p.m. appointment. Transfer filed at 4:45 p.m. Jesus! Victor rarely curses. This isn't just opportunistic, it's predatory. He pulls up a legal database, fingers flying. There's precedent. Hamilton v. Hamilton, 2019. POA invalidated due to medication influence and witness conflict of interest. The court reversed property transfers, appointed temporary conservatorship. I don't want their money, Victor. I want Dylan stopped before he leverages the property for his next failed venture. You said he's preparing loan applications. I show him the screenshots from Dylan's Instagram, him at Mountain West Capital, tagged Big Things Coming and Generational Wealth Building. The same firm that rejected him 2 years ago, suddenly interested now that he has collateral. He's using the property as security for a loan. Victor's voice is grim. If he defaults and based on his history, my parents lose everything. We sit in that truth for a moment. 35 years building a business, gone because they loved their son more than facts. We need more than documents, Victor says finally. We need witnesses. Anyone who saw your mother's condition when signing. Anyone Dylan might have bragged to about his plans. I think of the USB in my pocket. The Ring doorbell recording. Dylan's voice, clear as day. Just sign it, Mom. Let me handle everything. You're too stressed to think clearly. I have audio. Victor's eyes widen. From when? 11:43 p.m. The night of the POA signing. Their Ring camera caught them coming home. Dylan's pressuring her. She's slurring slightly, saying she's tired and confused. Can you verify the authenticity? The file has metadata, timestamp, device ID, location data. Victor stands, paces to the window. Beyond it, Willow Creek spreads out small, prosperous, built on businesses like my father's. Places where handshake deals still mean something, where family names carry weight. If we move forward, this goes public. Small town, big scandal. Your family will never be the same. I think about dinner 3 nights ago. Mom's blue-stained finger. Dad's inability to meet my eyes. Dylan's smirk. It's already not the same. They chose that when they chose him. All right. Victor returns to his desk, pulls out a fresh legal pad. We file for emergency injunction to freeze all transfers. Request immediate POA suspension pending competency evaluation. Demand forensic accounting of the trust. And we do it tomorrow, before Dylan can move more assets. Tomorrow's Thursday. Dylan will be at the store. Dad has Rotary. Mom will be home alone. You'll need to serve her with papers. Can you handle that? Serving my mother legal documents. Telling her formally, legally, that I'm challenging her decisions, that I'm exposing her vulnerability. She signed away 32 years of my existence for a painting. I say quietly. I can hand her papers. Victor nods. Starts drafting. Ava, you're doing the right thing. Not the easy thing, but the right thing. I watch him write. Legal language transforming family betrayal into actionable items. Somewhere across town. Dylan's probably sitting in Dad's office. My grandfather's office planning his empire built on their trust. He's about to learn what I learned at that dinner table, family supports family, until they don't. And when they don't, you protect yourself. Marla Keegan's office smells like coffee and old paper. Exactly what you'd expect from a forensic accountant who's testified in over 200 fraud cases. She studies my documentation with the intensity of a surgeon examining x-rays. Your brother's not sophisticated, but he's systematic, she says, highlighting transfer patterns. Classic asset stripping. just dressed up as family care. Can you prove it? I can prove the pattern. $9,900, repeatedly. That's not coincidence. That's someone who Googled IRS reporting requirements and thought they were clever. She pulls up a graph on her screen. But here's what he missed: structured transactions to avoid reporting. That's a federal crime. My phone buzzes. Dylan. Heard you visited the courthouse. Don't make this uglier than necessary. Marla notices my expression. He knows you're investigating. Small town. The clerk probably mentioned it to someone who mentioned it to someone. Then we move faster. She opens another file. I found something interesting. Your brother incorporated an LLC 6 months ago. DM Premier Holdings. Guess who the registered agent is? Brad Kellerman. Bingo. And guess what property was transferred to this LLC last week? My stomach drops. The store. Not yet. But 2 parcels of undeveloped land your parents owned, worth maybe $40,000 each, transferred for $1 and other valuable consideration. They didn't mention owning other land, because they probably forgot. These parcels were inherited from your grandmother 15 years ago. Rural, undeveloped. But here's the kicker: Mountain West Capital just approved permits for a commercial development adjacent to these parcels. Values about to quintuple. Dylan knew. Somehow. He knew about the development before signing the papers. Victor texts, "Can you meet tonight 8 p.m.? Bring everything." I confirm, then turn back to Marla. I need everything documented, every transfer, every date, every connection to Brad Kellerman. Already done. She hands me a bound report, 40 pages thick. This is preliminary. Give me another week. I'll have every financial move your brother's made since middle school. My next stop is less official. The Quarry House, where Dylan's planning his celebration dinner, is managed by Pete Garrison, who dated my roommate in college. He owes me for not mentioning the time I saw him sneaking out of a competitor's restaurant with their recipes. Ava heard you're coming to Dylan's big dinner tomorrow night. News travels. Hey, Pete, who's all invited? He pulls out the reservation list. Let's see. 40 people. Your parents. Obviously, the Kellermans, all 3 of them. Some suits from Mountain West Capital. County commissioner. Even hired a photographer. Yeah, Dylan said it's a legacy moment. Whatever that means. It means evidence. Dylan's so confident he's already won. He's documenting his victory. Pete, I need a favor. Tomorrow night, I need access to your projection system. His eyes narrow. What kind of access? The kind where I share some financial education with the dinner guests. Ava, I can't. Remember the recipe situation. He sighs. What do you need? Just the ability to connect my laptop. 5 minutes, max. You're going to burn bridges. They're already ash. Pete, I'm just showing everyone the fire. That evening, I meet with 3 crucial witnesses. First, Mrs. Chen next door, whose ring camera caught more than just my parents' return that night. I worried about your mother, she says, showing me the footage on her phone. She could barely walk straight. Dylan practically carried her to the door, kept saying, just a little further, Mom, then you can rest. Second, the pharmacist at CVS, who can't violate HIPAA but can confirm that someone asked about drug interactions between Percocet and Ambien the day of the POA signing. The someone used Dylan's rewards card. Third, and most damaging, Jennifer Walsh, the notary from First National who refuses to notarize documents after 6 p.m. as a personal rule. Dylan called me that night, she says carefully. Asked if I could come to the house for an emergency notarization. I said no, told him to use the bank's services during business hours. But the POA was notarized that night by Brad Kellerman, who hasn't had valid credentials since the state revoked them in 2021. Victor's office feels different at 8 p.m., shadows longer, stakes higher. He spreads out the evidence like a general planning invasion. We have enough for the emergency injunction, he says. But the dinner tomorrow, that's risky. He's gathering everyone who matters in this town to celebrate stealing from his parents. They should know what they're toasting. And if your parents take his side publicly, I think about Mom's shaking signature, Dad's weathered hands building something his son will destroy. Then at least the truth was said out loud, in front of witnesses, with photographic evidence courtesy of Dylan's hired photographer. Victor pulls out a document. Emergency injunction, ready for filing. The moment you serve your mother tomorrow morning. I file this. Every account freezes. Every transaction stops. And Dylan will get served at his celebration dinner by a sheriff, in front of his guests. There's poetry in that. Brutal poetry, but poetry nonetheless. I sign where Victor indicates initialing pages that will detonate my family's careful fiction. Tomorrow, Dylan expects to crown himself king of an empire built on manipulation. Instead, he'll learn what I learned in risk management. The most dangerous attacks come from the inside, from people who know your weaknesses, your patterns, your blind spots, from family who learned, too late, that love and trust aren't the same thing. I drive home past the hardware store. The lights are still on Dad working late, like always. Through the window, I can see Dylan's feet up on the desk, playing with his phone while Dad counts inventory. One more night of pretense. Tomorrow, the audit begins. The quarry house glows with ambition at 7:30 p. Dylan's rented the private dining room, strung it with lights that catch on champagne flutes and polish everything into false gold. I arrive fashionably late, my laptop bag looking like an oversized purse, the bound report from Marla tucked inside like a weapon. Ava, Dylan greets me with theatrical surprise. Didn't think you'd come. Wouldn't miss your big announcement. I smile, bright as the blade I'm about to unsheathe. The room reads like a who's who of Willow Creek power. Commissioner Hayes, 3 suits from Mountain West Capital. The Kellermans clustered near the bar Brad, his father, and his wife, who keeps checking her phone nervously. The photographer Dylan hired circles like a shark, capturing every handshake, every raised glass. Mom sits at the head table, wearing her good pearls but looking diminished somehow. The refilled prescription I watched her pick up this afternoon shows in her glassy focus, the slight delay when Dad whispers in her ear, "Everyone, attention." Dylan taps his glass with a knife. The room quiets. Thank you all for coming to celebrate the next chapter of the Morgan family legacy. Legacy. He keeps using that word. As many of you know, my parents have entrusted me with continuing what they've built. Morgan Construction Hardware isn't just a business, it's a cornerstone of this community. The Mountain West executives nod approvingly. They see collateral, not history. And with the new development project, Dylan gestures to Commissioner Hayes, we're positioned to transform those undeveloped parcels into something extraordinary. There it is. The parcels he transferred to his LLC without our parents' knowledge. I catch Pete's eye at the projection screen controls. He nods slightly. Before we toast, I stand, my voice cutting through the murmur. I thought we should review the exact nature of this transition. Dylan's smile tightens. Ava, this isn't, oh, but it is. I pull out my laptop, and Pete, bless him, already has the cable ready. Since Dylan's hired a photographer to document this moment, we should ensure everyone understands what they're celebrating. The screen lights up with the first document, the power of attorney. 3 days after our mother's accident, while she was on a significant dose of Percocet, Dylan had her sign this POA. The witness Brad Kellerman, whose notary license was revoked in 2021. Gasps ripple through the room. Brad starts to stand, but his father pulls him down. That's a lie, Dylan starts. Colorado Secretary of State website. I click to the next slide showing Brad's revocation notice. Public record. The photographer, sensing the story changing, keeps shooting. Next slide, the prescription records. Our mother was prescribed enough Percocet to, quote, significantly impair decision-making capacity. That's from Dr. Kellerman Brad's father, who treated her despite having no prior relationship with our family. Dr. Kellerman's face drains of color. Now here's where it gets interesting. The structured deposits appear on screen. $9,900, repeatedly. just under IRS reporting requirements. That's called structuring, and it's a federal crime. The Mountain West executives exchange glances, already calculating their distance from this deal. But the real masterpiece, I click again, is this LLC, DM Premier Holdings, incorporated 6 months ago. 2 weeks ago, it received 2 land parcels from my parents for $1, parcels worth $40,000 each, until the new development was approved. Commissioner Hayes shifts uncomfortably. Commissioner, when exactly did you inform Dylan about the development approval? Because the transfer happened 2 days before the public announcement. The room erupts. The executives are on their phones. The photographer's camera clicking sounds like gunfire. You can't prove, Dylan's voice cracks. Actually, I can. I play the audio from the Ring doorbell. Dylan's voice fills the room. Just sign it. Mom, let me handle everything. You're too stressed to think clearly. Then, my mother's voice, slurred and confused. I don't understand all these papers. Dylan, maybe we should wait until morning. We can't wait. Sign here and here. Trust me. I stop the recording. The room sits in stunned silence. This is family business, Dylan shouts. You have no right. I have every right. As someone written out of a will while our mother was impaired, as someone watching you leverage their life's work for another failed venture. I turn to the Mountain West executives. Gentlemen, any loans secured by property obtained through fraudulent transfer would be void. You'd have no recourse when Dylan defaults. And based on his history, I click to show his 2 bankruptcy filings. Default is guaranteed. They're already heading for the door. Mom, I say quietly, facing her directly. Did you know Dylan transferred Grandma's land to his LLC, the place where you picked blackberries as a girl? Her confusion is genuine. What land? Dylan said we were just organizing things. Dad stands abruptly. Dylan, is this true? But Dylan's looking past them all, at the sheriff who's walking in with Victor Hale. Dylan Morgan. The sheriff holds out papers. You're being served with an emergency injunction. All financial activity regarding Howard and Evelyn Morgan's assets is frozen pending investigation. The photographer captures it all. Dylan's face crumbling. Brad Kellerman trying to slip out the back. My mother's tears as she finally understands. Additionally, Victor announces, the district attorney's office has been notified about the structured deposits and fraudulent notarization. Dylan lunges toward me, but the sheriff steps between us. I wouldn't, son. You destroyed our family. Dylan spits. No, I say calmly, packing up my laptop. You did that when you decided they were marks instead of parents. I walk to Mom, place a gentler set of papers in front of her, not a service. Just information. These are victim resources for elder financial abuse. You'll need them for the insurance claims. She looks up at me, and for a moment, I see her clearly not the mother who chose him, but the woman who got confused, medicated, and manipulated by someone she trusted. Ava, I thought I was helping him. I know. And I do. That's the cruelest part. She thought sacrifice meant love. I leave them all there, the commissioner slipping out. The Kellermans huddled with their phones, presumably calling lawyers. Dylan raging at Victor about entrapment and family loyalty. Outside, Pete catches up with me. Holy shit. Ava. Thanks for the projection assist. That was brutal. Necessary. But brutal. I look back at the glowing windows, shadows moving in chaos inside. He wanted to celebrate taking everything. Now everyone knows exactly what he took, and how. My phone buzzes. Unknown number. Miss Morgan. This is Amanda Richardson from the Denver Post. We received some interesting photos from an event tonight. I smile, thinking of Dylan's photographer, probably already shopping the exclusive to whoever pays best. No comment, I say, and hang up. By morning, it won't matter what I comment. The truth will be in black and white, documented by the very person Dylan paid to immortalize his triumph. He wanted a legacy moment. He got one. The dinner table at the quarry house looks like a courtroom exhibit. Papers scattered where plates should be. Champagne growing flat in abandoned glasses. The photographer has stopped shooting. Even he knows the show's over. This is insane! Dylan's voice cracks as he waves the injunction. You can't just freeze everything based on accusations. Victor remains calm, professional. The court found sufficient evidence of potential elder abuse to warrant immediate asset protection. Elder abuse. Dad finally speaks, his voice hoarse. We're not elders. We're his parents, who signed documents while one was medically impaired. I pull up the pharmaceutical database on my laptop, the projection still running. Mom, do you remember taking 2 Percocet and an Ambien the night you signed the POA? She shakes her head slowly. Dylan said it would help me sleep after the accident stress. The combination can cause severe cognitive impairment. I show the drug interaction warning. Confusion, memory loss, susceptibility to suggestion. Dr. Kellerman stands. I'm not listening to this slander. Sit down, doctor. The sheriff's tone suggests it's not a request. We'll need a statement about that prescription. I click to the next slide, the trust structure. This is what Dylan built while Mom was medicated. A revocable trust where he's the trustee, supposedly for Mom's benefit. But look at the amendment dated last week. The screen shows Schedule B, subsection 3. Upon dissolution of trust, all assets transfer to trustee. When were you planning to dissolve it? Dylan, I ask. After the Mountain West loan was approved, or after you'd leveraged everything for your next venture. It's not illegal to help family organize finances. With a fraudulent notary, Victor interjects. Brad, you want to explain why you notarized documents 3 years after losing your license. Brad Kellerman's wife suddenly stands. I'm calling our lawyer. Good idea, Victor says. You'll need one. Fraudulent notarization is a Class 5 felony in Colorado. The Mountain West executives haven't left. They're huddled in the corner, frantically photographing documents with their phones. Due diligence after the fact. Let's discuss the land parcels, I continue, clicking to the property records. Mom, Dad, did you know you owned 2 parcels on County Road 47? Dad's confusion is genuine. That's Mom's old Blackberry land. We've never done anything with it. Dylan did. Transferred them to his LLC 2 weeks ago, for $1. I was consolidating family assets, Dylan starts. You were positioning for the development deal. Commissioner Hayes, trying to edge toward the door, freezes as I address him. Commissioner, your nephew works at Mountain West Capital, doesn't he? The same nephew who processed Dylan's loan application. The room goes silent. Public meetings are recorded, I add helpfully. The development approval was discussed in closed session 3 weeks ago. Only commissioners and select staff knew. So how did Dylan know to transfer the land before the public announcement? Hayes's face is purple. I don't have to know, but you'll have to explain it to the state ethics board. Victor pulls out his phone. I'm sure they'll be interested in the timeline. Mom starts crying, not dramatic sobs, just quiet tears sliding down her cheeks. Dylan, how could you? That land was from Grandma. You never used it. Dylan explodes. 40 years. Sitting there worthless, I was making it valuable. By stealing it? Dad's voice is steel now. By drugging your mother and stealing it. I didn't drug, she took the pills herself. That you gave her, I say quietly. That you had Dr. Kellerman prescribe at doses inappropriate for minor whiplash. That you timed with the notary appointment? I pull out the final piece, Jennifer Walsh's statement. The real notary at First National refused to come after hours, so you used Brad's expired stamp. Did you think nobody would check? The photographer, apparently deciding this is still worth documenting, starts shooting again. The image he captures is devastating Dylan surrounded by evidence of his scheme, our parents looking broken, and me standing like an avenging angel with spreadsheets instead of a sword. You want to know the irony. I address Dylan directly. If you'd just asked them, they probably would have given you everything anyway. They always have. Ava. Mom reaches toward me. No. I step back. You chose him. You literally wrote me out of your life for someone who saw you as marks. I'm not here for reconciliation. I'm here to stop him from taking everything Grandpa built. This is vindictive, Dylan starts. This is math. Marla Keegan enters, having waited in the lobby for her cue. Mr. Morgan, I'm a forensic accountant. Your structured deposits triggered federal reporting. The IRS will be very interested in where that money went. She hands copies of her preliminary report to the sheriff, Victor, and places one in front of Dylan. Page 12 is especially interesting. The payments to offshore accounts. Those are traceable. The Caymans aren't as secret as they used to be. Dylan's phone rings. He looks at the screen, goes pale. My loan officer. Answer it, I suggest. I'm sure Mountain West wants to discuss their risk assessment. He doesn't answer. We all know what that call means. The loan is dead. The dream is over. 40 guests, I say, looking around the room. You invited 40 people to celebrate stealing from your parents. How's that for a legacy moment? The sheriff steps forward. Mr. Dylan Morgan, we need you to come to the station for questioning regarding fraudulent notarization and structured deposit violations. You can't arrest me. You're not under arrest, yet, but you should probably come voluntarily. It looks better. Dylan turns to our parents one last time. This is your fault. You let her do this. Dad stands slowly, every one of his 67 years showing, no, son, this is your fault. And the saddest part, we would have given you everything anyway. All you had to do was be honest. Or at least better at crime, I add, because I can't help myself. Victor touches my arm. We should go. Let the sheriff handle the rest. I nod, gathering my laptop. The presentation ends on the final slide, a photo of the original Morgan Construction hardware, my grandfather standing proud in front of his life's work. That's what you tried to steal. I tell Dylan, not just money or land, legacy, the real kind, built with honest work. I leave them all there, the sheriff asking questions, the Kellermans calling lawyers, my parents finally seeing their golden child for what he is. In the parking lot, Victor asks, any regrets? I think about the family dinners we'll never have, the relationships broken beyond repair, the brother who chose greed over love. No, I say. He made his choices. I made mine. And your parents will either learn from this or they won't. Either way, their assets are protected now. My phone buzzes with texts from extended family, co-workers, half the town. The photographer's pictures are already circulating on social media. By morning, everyone will know what happened at the quarry house. Dylan wanted witnesses to his triumph. Instead, they witnessed his unmasking. The courthouse at 9 a.m. Feels different when you're fighting for your parents instead of against them. The emergency hearing is in courtroom 3, Judge Patricia Winters presiding. She's known for cutting through bullshit with surgical precision. Dylan sits at the defendant's table with his public defender. His account's frozen. He can't afford the shark he'd planned to hire. Brad Kellerman has his own lawyer. Dr. Kellerman's in the gallery, looking like he aged 10 years overnight. Victor stands beside me at the plaintiff's table. Remember, this is just about the POA and asset freeze. Criminal charges come later. All rise. Judge Winters enters, already reading the filing. She doesn't look up as she sits. This is regarding the emergency injunction for Morgan family assets. Mr. Hale, you filed on behalf of Ava Morgan. Yes, Your Honor. We're requesting the POA be declared invalid due to undue influence and questionable capacity at signing. I've reviewed the evidence submitted. She finally looks up, eyes sharp. Mr. Dylan Morgan, you're the respondent and current POA holder. Dylan's defender stands. Yes, Your Honor. We contend this is a family dispute that I'll decide what this is. Winters cuts him off. Mr. Hale, present your evidence. Victor's thorough, methodical, the prescription timeline on the overhead monitor. Evelyn Morgan, age 65, suffered minor whiplash. Dr. Kellerman, who had never treated her before. Prescribed Percocet at doses typically reserved for post-surgical pain. Marla takes the stand next, walking through the structured deposits. $9,900, repeatedly. 37 transfers total. Always just under federal reporting requirements. That suggests intent to avoid detection. Judge Winters notes. Precisely. Additionally, these transfers began 3 days after the POA was signed. The judge turns to Dylan's defender. Cho, your response. My client was helping organize his parents' finances. With a notary whose license was revoked, Winters interrupts. Mr. Brad Kellerman, are you present? Brad stands shakily. Yes, Your Honor. Did you notarize this POA? His lawyer whispers urgently. Brad clears his throat. On advice of counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment right. The courtroom murmurs. Taking the Fifth in a civil hearing speaks volumes. Noted. Winter's voice is arctic. Mr. Hale, continue. Victor plays the Ring doorbell audio. My mother's confused voice fills the courtroom. I don't understand all these papers. Dylan, maybe we should wait until morning. We can't wait. Sign here. Trust me. The judge's expression hardens. Was Mrs. Morgan medicated at this time? Pharmacy records show she filled the Percocet prescription at 2:15 p.m. The POA was signed at approximately 11:45 p.m., well within the drug's peak effect window. Jennifer Walsh takes the stand. Dylan Morgan called me at 8:30 p.m., requesting emergency notarization. I declined, citing my policy against after-hours document execution. He seemed agitated, said it couldn't wait. So he found someone else, Judge Winters says, looking at Brad Kellerman. Someone whose license had been revoked for let me check notarizing documents without proper verification of identity. Pattern behavior, it seems. Dylan's defender tries damage control. Your Honor, even if the notarization was technically improper, the parent's intent requires capacity. Winters pulls up the drug interaction chart. Percocet and Ambien together, Dr. Kellerman. You prescribed both. Dr. Kellerman's lawyer stands. My client is not a party to this hearing, but he is present and his prescription enabled this situation. Doctor, did you check for drug interactions? Silence. Did you have a prior physician-patient relationship with Mrs. Morgan? More silence. Your silence is noted. She turns back to us. Miss Morgan, you're requesting what specific relief I stand. Immediate revocation of the POA. Appointment of a neutral temporary conservator for my mother pending competency evaluation. Reversal of all property transfers executed after the POA signing. Forensic accounting of all trust accounts. And for yourself, nothing. Your Honor, I don't want their money. I want their exploitation stopped. Mom suddenly speaks from the gallery. May I say something? Judge Winters nods. You're Evelyn Morgan. Yes. Mom stands unsteadily. I don't remember signing some of these papers. Dylan said they were routine, for the business. I trusted him. Were you in pain from your accident? Yes, and tired. The medicine made everything fuzzy. Did you knowingly transfer your mother's land parcels to Dylan's LLC? Mom's face crumples. What? No, that was Grandma's blackberry farm. I'd never. The documentary evidence suggests otherwise. Your signature is on the transfer. But I didn't. I wouldn't. She turns to Dylan. You said those were insurance forms. The judge has heard enough. I'm prepared to rule. The power of attorney dated 3 weeks ago is hereby declared null and void due to 1 fraudulent notarization by an unlicensed individual, 2 clear evidence of undue influence during execution, 3 questionable capacity due to prescribed medication. All asset transfers conducted under this POA are reversed pending final adjudication. The request for temporary conservatorship is granted. Ms. Teresa Valdez from Adult Protective Services will oversee Mrs. Morgan's financial decisions temporarily. Dylan jumps up. You can't. Sit down, Mr. Morgan. The judge's voice could freeze hell. Additionally, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for criminal investigation. Structured deposits to avoid federal reporting. Fraudulent notarization. and potential elder abuse are serious crimes. Your Honor, Victor adds, there's also the matter of the development deal. That's for criminal court, but Mr. Dylan Morgan, you are hereby prohibited from any financial transactions involving your parents' assets. Any attempt will be considered contempt. She continues, Mr. and Mrs. Morgan, you'll need to establish new estate planning under court supervision. I strongly suggest family counseling as well. Dad finally speaks. What about our son? Your son likely faces criminal charges. Federal for the structured deposits. State for the fraud and elder abuse. He should focus on his defense, not your assets. The gavel falls with finality. Outside, Dylan corners me, his public defender trying to pull him back. You destroyed everything. My whole future. No, Dylan, you destroyed it the moment you saw our parents as marks instead of family. They would have given it to me anyway. Probably. That's the saddest part. You turned love into larceny when all you had to do was ask honestly. His defender finally drags him away, hissing about bail hearings and federal investigations. Mom approaches tentatively. Ava, I'm sorry. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. There's a difference. Can we fix this, our family? I look at her. This woman who signed me away for a painting while medicated and manipulated. The family you wanted Dylan inheriting everything while I disappeared quietly. That's gone. Maybe something else can be built, but not by me. I'm done building things you'll give to him. Victor touches my elbow. The criminal arraignment is tomorrow. You'll need to testify. I'll be there. As we walk away, I hear Dad ask Mom, how did we get here? The answer is simple, one signature at a time, one excuse at a time, one favored child at a time. But that's their journey to understand. Mine is already clear. The criminal courtroom is packed at 10 a.m., local news, Denver Post, even a true crime blogger who somehow got credentials. Dylan sits in an orange jumpsuit. Federal charges mean no bail until the hearing. The prosecutor, James Reeves, is a pit bull who spent 10 years taking down financial crimes. Mr. Morgan, you systematically transferred $900,000 through structured deposits. You used a fraudulently notarized POA to move property worth, after development, nearly $2 million. You administered prescription drugs to impair your mother's judgment. Dylan's new lawyer, a federal defender, tries mitigation. My client made errors in judgment driven by family financial pressure. Pressure he created through 2 previous bankruptcies. Reeves counters. I take the stand. USB drive in hand. This contains the Ring doorbell footage, bank records, and something else, Dylan's own texts to Brad Kellerman. The prosecutor displays them on the courtroom screen. Mom's properly fuzzy now. Bring the papers. Make sure your dad brings his stamp. Still looks official even if it's expired. 2 more hours and we own everything. The federal judge, Marcus Hayes, no relation to the commissioner, looks disgusted. Mr. Morgan, these texts suggest premeditation. Your Honor, Dylan's lawyer tries. Family dynamics are complex. Fraud is not. Mr. Dylan Morgan, you're charged with 37 counts of structuring transactions, 1 count of conspiracy to commit fraud, and 1 count of elder financial abuse. How do you plead? Dylan looks at our parents, some desperate hope in his eyes. Mom's crying. Dad stares straight ahead. Dylan, his lawyer whispers urgently. Not guilty, he says, but his voice breaks. Trial set for March 15th. Given flight risk and the severity of charges, bail is denied. The gavel falls. Dylan's led away in shackles. In the hallway, Brad Kellerman's accepting a plea deal, testifying against Dylan in exchange for reduced charges. Dr. Kellerman's medical license is under review. Commissioner Hayes resigned this morning, ahead of the ethics investigation. Mom and Dad stand lost in the marble corridor, looking older than their years. The house is safe, I tell them. The business is protected. The court-appointed conservator will help you restructure everything properly. Will you? Mom starts, then stops. Will you ever forgive us? Forgiveness isn't the issue. Trust is. You showed me exactly where I rank in this family. That's not something you can restructure with new documents. We were trying to help him, Dad says quietly. You were enabling him. There's a difference. And you chose to do it by erasing me. Victor approaches. The civil suits from Dylan's previous creditors are being filed. They'll go after his LLC, but your parents' assets are protected now. Good. I turn to leave, but Mom catches my sleeve. The painting your grandmother's painting. You should have it. Not because of the will, but because she'd want you to. You're the only one who kept fighting for what she and Grandpa built. I look at her hand on my arm. No blue ink stains now. Just age spots and regret. Keep it. I don't need artifacts from a family that chose to forget me. 6 weeks later, I'm in my office when Marla calls. Thought you'd want to know Dylan took the plea deal. 3 years federal, 2 years state to run concurrently. He'll serve at minimum 2 with good behavior. And the others? Brad Kellerman got 18 months probation and community service. His father lost his medical license. The commissioner's facing his own federal investigation for the development deal. My parents completed court-ordered counseling, restructured their estate with a neutral attorney. Equal distribution between children. Ironically. I laugh, short and bitter. Now I'm equal, after I had to prove their golden child was a criminal. Ava, they called me, asked me to evaluate their books, make sure no other damage was hidden. Your mother said she understood if you never came back, but wanted you to know they finally see what they refused to see before, which is that love shouldn't require lawyers to enforce it. I sit with that for a moment. Outside my window, Willow Creek goes about its business. The hardware store still stands, will probably stand for another generation if properly managed. The Morgan name still means something here, though different than before. My phone buzzes, a text from an unknown number, but I recognize the federal facility prefix. Ava, I know you won't read this, but I'm sorry. Not for what you did, you were right to stop me, but for what I became. For choosing to be the son who takes instead of the brother who builds. Maybe when I get out, we can start over. Dylan. I delete it. Some bridges, once burned, illuminate too much truth to ever rebuild. The USB drive sits in my desk drawer, evidence preserved, but no longer needed. The war is over. I didn't get what I wanted, which was to matter as much as my brother to the people who raised me. But I got what I needed, the truth. Spoken aloud in court, documented in federal records, impossible to deny or rewrite. They chose their heir. I chose my worth. And in the end, that's the only inheritance that truly matters, the knowledge that when family treats you as expendable, you have the right to prove them wrong, not by begging for inclusion, but by refusing to be erased. The painting Grandma's landscape of the Blackberry farm now hangs in the courthouse conference room, donated to the city. A plaque reads, "In memory of those who built with honor, and in hope for those who still can." Dylan will see it when he comes home. A reminder that legacy isn't what you take, but what you leave behind. And what he left behind was a sister who learned that family is just a word until you make it mean something more. Or, sometimes, when you realize it means something less. Either way, I'm done calculating the difference. Some accounts, once audited, should simply be closed. Thank you for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. What would you have done in Ava's position? Your perspectives make these stories come alive.